Well, Paula, thank you so much for joining me here on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here. Like I said, you're the second South African that I'm introducing here on my podcast. So I'm truly honored to have you here all the way from Cape Town. Before we get started and talk a lot more about money mindset and, business mindset in particular, why don't I just hand over to you where you can introduce yourself to the audience and tell us about what you do.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's such an honor. Well, I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years. I left the corporate world to come into the space of entrepreneurship. And currently, I'm a business coach. I've been on a very long journey to get to the point where I'm a business coach. But also, side by side, I'm still a serial entrepreneur. I have a couple of businesses, and one of them being a national franchise group that I started and that I own. And it's a platform where I help women that wants to embark on the journey of entrepreneurship, but really don't want to reinvent the wheel and do it themselves. So they come into my franchise set up, and then I take them on a journey and I allow them to actually discover their own power and their own strength. So I'm passionate about helping women specifically discover their own power on the journey of entrepreneurship.
And I love that you're saying that, because in so many ways, me being a South African as well, I'm very passionate about obviously helping female entrepreneurs or women in particular who wants to start growing their own businesses in South Africa, because I think there's kind of like a little bit of a lack there. There's like in reference to the UK or the US, you get so many female entrepreneurs because it's already taking the world by storm there. But I find in South Africa, there's still a little bit of a lack there. And I'm so passionate about what you do in particular to help women as well discover that kind of path of, becoming an entrepreneur and obviously sustaining themselves in that way, but also making a difference all around them. But before we dig deeper, because I can talk a lot about these kind of stuff, which we're both passionate about, I want to hear more a little bit about your journey, because it's not just one of the things that you just woke up one morning and go, right, I've been 14 years in this industry, this is what I'm doing. You obviously had that kind of journey, but starting from the beginning, what was the kind of pivoting moment for you where you decided, I'm going to start my own business, this is something I'm going to do? And also with that question, how did that journey kind of evolve to where you are now?
So I used to be in corporate, and I was in a management role in a call center environment, which is high stress. And I was way ahead of my time then, because I used to do a lot of mindset, motivation work with my staff. Some of them used to think I'm quite crazy. Others loved it. And they still talk about me being their boss so many years ago. So it's amazing. That was quite amazing to be in that role. But I wanted to have a bigger impact. I wanted to be in a space where I can dictate my hours, first of all, work when and how I want to, and really create a space where my own essence is infused into the work that I do. I'm very much a team player, but I can work on my own for days. So I don't need to be rewarded, actually. For me, the reward is just in the results and the happiness and the people around me. So I embarked and started on starting my own business in terms of catering. And then I was like, no, this is not working for me. And then my husband and myself, we started an events company, which I directed and I spearheaded. And that morphed within a year of doing this, because we were the first company in the world that started picnic experiences. And because we were all about bringing connection back to people. I always want to bring the deeper stuff back to people, because we more than just this body that sits and wants to earn money. There's so much more to life. And I wanted to bring that experiences to people where they really just come from their work, take their family somewhere, be in nature, and really just enjoy connection to this beautiful earth that we live on and to the people that matters. So that's how the Dialer Picnic group was started 14 years ago. And it's been my greatest teacher, my greatest joy, my greatest blessing. And within a year, I franchised the business, which is unheard of, because people say you have to be in business for 10 years before you franchise. And I didn't follow the rules. There was a huge demand from Johannesburg, because I am in Cape Town, that people wanted to do the same in Johannesburg. And I decided, the franchise model is going to be best for me. I love supporting people. I love growing people. And by doing the franchise model, I know that someone's got a vested interest in the business as well, which is very important, because how else will I keep an eye on someone and then like that's 1,200 kilometers away from me? And that's how the franchise model started. And over the years, it's now about 12 years of doing the franchise model. It's been so amazing. It's been amazing because as I grew as a leader in my own business and by leading them, it's been amazing to watch the impact I've had and they've had on their clients, and it's just been phenomenal. So over the years, I realized that my passion is more than just running a business. It's actually empowering people. And 3 years ago, I stepped into the role of actually becoming a coach, but not just any type of coach. It's a soul-inspired coach. We call it soul coaching. So I'm certified under the Denise Lynn Academy. And for some people, it's quite woo-woo, but I'll take the woo-woo and I'll take the business and I bring it together and I navigate the path through that. Because I'm a very pragmatic person as well, strategic, pragmatic, but I do believe and know that we are spirit as well. Yeah. So, and that's where I'm now really passionate about, because bringing the essence of your spirit into everything that you do just brings so much more fulfillment.
It does.
And I'm helping people to discover, you know what, it's okay. It's okay to be truly you. Step into that role more fully of being you and bring that essence into your business. Clients love it. They feel it when they work with you. They feel that resonance when you're really aligned. And I found when people focus just on the one thing, which is money, money is great. And that's why we're in business, okay? I acknowledge that. But if you're just so focused and you're from your mind focused just on money, you find often that people lose the spirit side of it. And they're actually overstressed, overworked, and then depleted. So I'm here to help people navigate, to create a balance where the two come into harmony. Yes. And you, through this process, still make oodles of money, but you also grounded and you're happy and your soul's fulfilled.
Oh my goodness, you're speaking my language. And I think that's why I'm so excited as well, because we're going to talk a lot today about the heart-centered connection, but also how it links to business mindset. And most people, because I'm a strategic business coach, so I talk a lot about the strategic part as well about business, but it is not just about the strategy. The mindset is about 80% of the time, what you've got to focus on, and then strategies and all the actions and those kind of things will follow, which is why I'm so passionate about mindset. But why don't I just hand over to you and you just talk a little bit about where does the heart-centered connection come from? How do you link business mindset with that? How do you link the two together?
Okay. So first of all, we live in a very exciting time at the moment where people like Dr. Joe Dispenza is revolutionizing the fact that we've got a spirit, and the spirit actually impacts your mind, and your mind impacts what's your reality. And he does something called the heart coherence, which is all about linking your mind and your heart together. Because if you're just going to go forward in the mind, and our mind is beautiful, we need it, it's so important. So we use the mind to collect data, okay? So you gather all your information, you get it right, and once you've got it, you need to say, okay, now I've got all the data. Well, what do I do with it now? Do I do what the mind tells me to do, or do I do what's best for me in all aspects? So if you just go with mind and you just working and just doing mind, you're relying on your ego to make decisions. And often the decisions that's made from ego is linked to fear. And so people will make a lot of decisions and it's mostly linked to fear. And what we want to get to is to say, no, you know what? I've used my mind to gather the knowledge now. Now I know everything and I trust my mind that it's made best filter for the information. But now I have to tune in. I have to tune in and see, but is the next step that I'm going to take, is it in alignment with what I truly want? Because there's no point going in one direction and thinking that this is what I have to do. And if it's not resonating with your soul, somewhere along the line, the wheels are going to fall. Yes. So that's why we bring the mind together with the heart. And that's what we call heart is equals soul, okay? So there's beautiful exercises that you can do that brings you straight into the present and into that connection. We say, okay, I'm connecting now. I'm bringing the two together now. I'm connecting it. Okay, so what is the next step? What am I going to take? What am I going to do? What is the next best thing that I need to do? And then take action. And then what happens is things flow better. There's much less resistance.
Yes.
And that's interesting to see, because that's also how things get mirrored back to you. When you're not going on the right direction, you will feel the resistance. You'll see things popping up and stuff. And that's when you're like, okay, wait, I need to take a moment out. I need to know, my mind has done so much work. I need to check in now, is this right? And I preach for myself, I am a soul coach. I believe in meditation and grounding, connecting, but I can get so focused on results. I can put my head down, work. And then suddenly something just happens. I'm like, okay, wait, can make that cup of tea now. Go sit in your garden and just take all this information and connect all the dots. And that's so amazing when you start doing that, you see life feels flowing.
Yeah.
And flowing is a word that gets used a lot these days, but it really does feel like it's flowing. It doesn't feel like you are on this hamster wheel, constantly on this hamster wheel and not getting the results that you want.
Yeah, I agree with you. Flowing, I think, is the best way. I haven't come across another word that describes it as good as the word flowing. And from a personal experience, that's something that I've experienced as well. Love Joe Dispenza. I watch all his videos and all his trainings and things. So I know from where you're coming from with that. And it's something that I can connect with as well on a personal level. I can't speak for any of my students because, like I said, they have their own personal connections in what they do. But from my experience, since I started meditating about 2 years ago, really, that was one of the hardest things that I had to do, because that kind of changes your mindset. But it does what you're saying, bringing the mind together with your heart and having that mind or soul heart coherence. That is something that I couldn't quite grasp until I saw some videos of Joe Dispenza, and he explains the science behind it. And then I just had this moment of epiphany. I was like, oh, that's all it is. But then experiencing that and not doing business from a point of a mindset of lack, not having that kind of resistance, and it's all about the money, but aligning it with your heart, that's when things start flowing. And that's where my business just skyrocketed. Things started happening, opportunities started presenting itself, which was always there, but I never saw it because I was just constantly pushing against barriers rather than letting it flow. So, oh gosh, I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying. It is so, so true. And only because I can connect with it, but I'm hoping that the audience, if you're watching this video or if you're listening to the podcast, I'm hoping that you can kind of make that a connection as well. Talk to us a little bit about, if you have some examples maybe of through your coaching business, do you have some examples of where basically what you can tell those kind of students or audience or this audience as what they can do? I mean, I mentioned meditation, you mentioned meditation, but what can they do to kind of get that connection going between the heart and the mind?
Yeah. So first of all, I would suggest a daily, before you start your day, you just have to take 3 deep breaths. You don't have to make a big story of it. I've been meditating for 17 years and I've been through a lot of modalities in my life. And everybody thinks it's this big, complicated thing of making your mind empty. It's not. It's really about, my best way to explain it is to tune in. Tuning into yourself. We all got this rhythm. Like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, for instance, we are this energetic vibration, electric vibration that connects to a bigger framework. So now it's just about listening a bit what's going on in my unit, if I can call it that. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be about stilling the mind to a point of nothingness. It's really about breathing and just bringing some oxygen to your spine, for instance. Your nervous system just needs a bit of calm before the chaos comes, because it strengthens you, it grounds you. So you really just take a few deep breaths in, put some soothing music on, it does help. But when you get into a rhythm of it, you don't even need music. You can just close your eyes, breathe a few times, and then you feel the connection. And when I talk about connection, is you can just feel that calm coming over you. And from that place, then you start saying, okay, what is my plan for today? What is this project I want to launch? How does it look? How does it feel? It's very important to not overcomplicate things, because as soon as something becomes this big thing that I have to achieve, people stop after day 2 already. And it doesn't have to be. It's really as simple as just take a few moments every day before you start. Like, I'm a mother, I have to go drop my child at school. When I come back, before I jump into checking emails, I first sit and I connect. I check what the affirmation is in my diary. I look, okay, write down some of the things that I know I have to do before I forget. And then I just take a few moments. And it's amazing because as soon as you jump into your day, it's like jumping out of bed and into your day. As soon as you do that, your day feels so like energetically, like it's taking so much from you.
Yes.
If you take that 5 minutes in the morning and you sit and you structure your day, I can call it that, you feel at the end of the day that you've had such a flowing and successful day, if you can call it that, because you can look back and say, oh, I've done all these things, but not the hamster running on the wheel chasing something, but from a place of being grounded. So what happens in today's world, many years, thousands of years ago, they knew all across all tribes, all religions, they knew the importance of being still. And we've lost it because of the development of humanity and technology and all those things. But it's available to us. And it's free. It doesn't have to cost you a cent. And that's what's really amazing. It's the biggest tool that we've got that doesn't cost anything. So really just give yourself 5 minutes. Sometimes you're going to become like, you know what, I'm taking 30 minutes today because I can. And then you do that. But if you can't, just take 5 minutes. Don't let it become a mindset issue, like, oh, I don't even have time to do this. That is just a mindset issue.
Right. Basically, I just want to add a little something there to what you've mentioned about taking those 5 minutes in the morning, just recouping yourself and just deciding how you're going to spend the day, but doing it in a calm manner, taking those breaths. Something that I've learned from Marie Folio, for those of you who know about her, she said something that was really important. She said, in the mornings, the first thing you've got to do is create rather than consume. And this brings very much back to what you're saying, Paula, because if you take those 5 minutes in the morning for yourself to do the breathing exercises, meditate, whatever it is that you want to call it or whatever you want to do in the morning, but just to zone in on yourself that morning, basically you're creating a vibrance in your body. You're creating an energy of how you want your day to play out, how successful you want your day to be. Now, the problem that I've seen, and I've seen this across the globe, and I've spoken to so many coaches and students as well, and they've seen the same thing. Most people, what they do in the morning, and Paula, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you might also agree with this. People get up in the morning, the first thing they do is they grab their phones and they go on social media. So what you're doing, your energy is so much more refreshed in the morning. So rather than using that energy to go and create, to go and set yourself up for a successful day, you basically go and consume information first thing in the morning. Now, by the time you put that phone down, by the time you've looked out of, Facebook, Instagram, all your social platforms, you basically feel drained almost because you've consumed so much information first thing in the morning that now you've got to go and actually start your day, but you're already tired. Your brain is already exhausted with information overload. So one of the tips that I want to add to what you're saying is when you start off your morning by taking those couple of minutes in order just to do breathing exercises, make a point of it not to touch your phone until you've taken that couple of minutes to breathe, to relax, to do your meditation, because you want to come from a point where you can create rather than consume and deplete your energy before you start your day. So that's just a little point that a little tip that I wanted to add there. And I know it's one of the hardest things because that's one of the habits that we have. You wake up, the first thing you do is make a cup of coffee and you're standing drinking your coffee or sitting drinking your coffee, going through your phone, getting completely consumed with social media. And before you know it, an hour has gone by and you go, oh, I need to get busy. I need to start my day. So be very mindful of that. If you really want to start off your day and make a success of it, don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. Start with meditating, start with doing breathing exercises, exactly like Paula said. Paula, the other quick question I have for you is, obviously this is something we can go very much deep into, but can you give a couple of examples of, I know you mentioned an example already, and you said that you've been meditating for 14 years, 17 years, sorry, I missed the numbers. Now, obviously you've got so much experience, and it's something that comes very natural to you because you've created that habit for yourself. But can you kind of explain how you find meditation has really given you the advantage with your life, how that's kind of like changed the way you think as well?
Absolutely. So first of all, I've got a extremely high energy drive, and I don't drink caffeine. Okay, it's natural. I've come to realize that I've got a different capacity than other people, and I drive everybody nuts. Okay, so some of my clients says I'm like grrr, because I'm very action oriented, and Monday especially I start my week like full of beans. Okay, so for me it's essential because I can just push out volume. Okay, so it's a good and a bad thing. You know, anything in life, if you overdo it, it's not great. But so for me, if I do not do this, I become extremely tense because of all the stimulants. Okay, so we've got phones, we've got PCs and laptops, and I listen to podcasts while I'm driving. So my brain is constantly learning. Before I go to sleep at night, I'm listening to a different audio book because I don't have time for that one in a certain time of the day. So for me, it's essential. I become what I call nearly like scratchy and ratty, and my tolerance and how I deal with my family is not great. If I do not tune in and I don't take my downtime and I don't connect, then my husband and myself have got this thing with each other that we're like, oh, you go to the meditation room because you are tense. Okay. So at least we beautifully tune into each other. We can also, if we're not picking it up as individual yet, then the other one can tell you, you know what, I think you need to go there now. So for me, it's important because otherwise I get too busy in the doing and I miss the joy, I miss the good things. I become so orientated because I've got different businesses and different income streams. I need to spend a bit on each one every day. And then I work late and then I get a bit too obsessed. And when I get like that, I stop having fun. So if I want to have more joy and more fun, I need to connect. So I connect in the morning to tune in, okay, what is my next best decision for my business? But then I get very, very busy. And it's important for me in the evening before I go sleep again, I need to tune in. Because then I'm like, okay, I need to just take the edge off everything that I've done today, all that busyness. But I wanted to come back to the morning practice that you spoke about, and also don't grab your phone yet so early in the morning. A beautiful practice that we've adopted as a family. What we do in the morning is, and it's also part of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and a lot of other people's work, and actually our soul coaching stuff as well, is visualize what your future is looking like. So we're currently in a practice because we wanted to live in the countryside in a small town, and my daughter wanted 5 dogs and a horse. So every morning we're visualizing that we're going to live on a farm. And how does it feel? We're waking up every day on our farm. How does it feel? What do we see? And by doing this, you're building new neural pathways in your brain. And it's amazing. So in the morning when you wake up, before you even grab your phone, before you start to practice, just tune in and say, okay, how is this future looking that I want for myself? How is my best life looking? And tune into that, because that is the best inspiration you can get to get yourself out of that bed and start doing the things that's going to get you quicker to that place that you want to be. And it physically builds new neural pathways in your brain, and that becomes, every day when you're doing that, you're cementing it deeper and deeper, and it becomes your reality eventually.
Yes, I love that you're saying that. I actually saw a program the other day about the brain, and they're talking very much about the scientific aspect of visualization and how it works. And they actually showed that they did a brain scan of somebody and they asked them to visualize their future. And they did it over and over again. And they kind of showed how those neurons are physically firing and building and connecting in the brain. So when people say, oh, meditation is not working for me, it's, you know, it doesn't have to work for you. It's not something that you have to believe in. But when you look at the science and you see that it is actually something that physically exists and it's happening right there in front of your eyes, then some part of you might want to say, well, maybe I should give this a try. Maybe I should really just set into it. And I love the fact that you bring the visualization into it as well. Because our brains are really kind of set up to either think about the past, which is something, you know, that we do most of the time when we start meditating, because that's your internal habit. Your brain starts going back there, or you start thinking about the future. What are you going to do now for the day? How's your day set up? How's your next week set up? How's next month set up? But instead of trying to focus either on the past of what has happened and getting upset or anxiety again about it, or thinking about the future and getting all fearful about the things and the tasks on your list to do, it's all about creating that excitement, that feeling of what it is that I want. Where's this kind of dream? Where do I see myself in the future? And when you do that over and over again, it's exactly like you said, it's getting grounded, you know, cementing it in your brain. Those neurons are firing, they're connecting to each other. And before you know it, things starting to happen, because now you're starting to take the right action. You're starting to get opportunities your way, which is actually taking you into that direction of your dream. And you're going to think, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. Where in actual fact, yes, it could be a miracle, but you've already kind of built and worked towards that. It is not something that happened out of thin air. It is energy, that vibration that has led you to those opportunities and led you to work towards that dream. So,
yeah, I must actually talk. I would love to speak on this topic, because part of the soul coaching work that we do, Denise Lynn has, for nearly 40 years, she has been creating soul collages, vision boards, and worked a lot with people around creating the vision for your life. And I do it in my Thrive program that I run as well. It's a fundamental part of the process in week 5, where we create the vision for your life. But the reason why this works is in your brain, and this is all science, in your brain you've got the RAS, the reticular activating system, that sits between your conscious and your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind doesn't know it's real and not real. Yes. So whatever you feed it, it becomes your reality. So a great way to explain it, for instance, is if you're in a crowded place where it's very noisy, you will stand and you will hear your name being called across hundreds of people. And the reason why this happens is your subconscious mind is filtering that out for you. Yeah. So when you're creating a vision for your life, what you're doing is you're feeding that information to the subconscious. What it does is it takes out all the other noise, and it makes you notice the opportunities of the things that will get you to that place. So for instance, you decide you want to buy a red sports car. Suddenly you leave your house, and everywhere you drive, you see red sports cars. You're like, what? No. Everybody's got red sports cars. I'm not getting one anymore. In the meantime, no. Your brain is so amazing. It's filtered out all the other noise, and it's honing in. It's focusing in on that. And it's allowing you to see the opportunities. And that's why things starts flowing, because it's actually working in support of your dream. But if you get up in the morning and you're stuck in the past, you are recreating those realities every second. So if you sit there and you're like, oh my word, I don't like my life, I don't like where I'm at, my business is not working, you are cementing that affirmation that my business is not working, my clients can't afford me. Whatever it is that you're cementing, you are really making it hard and deep in there. And then you have to work harder to write new empowering beliefs. Yeah. So we are blessed with such an amazing tool, and it's available to us to get to the place we want to be in our life.
My goodness. Oh, I get so excited when I hear you talk about this, and I think you can see me nodding my head the whole time. It is so, how can I say, invigorating talking to somebody like yourself about this kind of topic, because we're so much in line with the kind of ideas and the concepts behind meditation, heart-centered connection, but also about that business mindset. Now, before, I think let's just conclude a little bit with everything, because we've spoken about so much here, and I hope for the audience you're making great notes, or at least go back and watch this whole video or listen to the whole audio again. But I just wanted to touch upon one last little thing that you said, the visualization, which I think is so important. And you're talking about visualization boards. This is something that I fairly much introduce to all my students as well, because I think it's so important. Journaling, visualization boards, writing down affirmations, those are the kind of things that really help you kind of cement that dream, that goal that you have down. Apart from the ones that I've just named, do you have any other tips or any ideas of what people can do in order to kind of like cement that kind of dream or goal down?
Yeah. So there's a thing that I speak often about on my businesswoman group, and it's, what are you seeding in your life? Become really aware of what are you seeding in your life. So are you seeding happiness and opportunity, and you're seeing the success, or are you like breaking everything down? Are you like seeding negativity and like, oh my word, my clients don't have money, or oh, I don't have money, or the world is a terrible place, or what is the reality you're creating? And you're creating it with the seeds that you're planting. So before you even go to vision boards, start working on what are the things that you're telling yourself, the things that nobody else can hear. Really become aware of what are the thoughts that's moving through your mind on a daily basis. Like, for instance, a great example that I see often with women in business, because we've got a fear around our worth and sending something out. So when you're sending a quote, for instance, to a client, and it's bigger than the usual ones that you do, oh my word, it's crazy what some people do is they're sending it out, but oh no, they're probably going to reject it. They're sending that out before the quote is even, they've even hit send.
Yeah.
And then people feel that anxiety. They can pick it up in the energetic field when you send something to them, and then it's probably going to come back rejected because it's too expensive. So if you think that something is like people can't afford you, you're going to attract all the people. And I have to quickly speak about this. I've got a lot of branches. I've got 6 branches in my franchise business. And some of them are just amazing. I can do some mindset work with them. And then I've seen last year at my one branch, she increased her turnover by 400% in 1 month, just with one day's mindset stuff, like an hour session. But then we've got another branch. She keeps on telling me, our stuff is too expensive. My clients can't afford it. And then she gets all the clients. They want the Rolls Royce, but they want to pay the price of a broken car. And so really become aware what you're thinking, what you're pushing out into the world. Because if you're going to create this beautiful vision board for your life, but your mind is still seeding weeds, then this vision board is going to struggle to actually materialize, because you're first of all not going to believe that you're worthy of it and that it's going to materialize. So really become aware of what are the thoughts that's moving through your mind and start working with that a bit. And you're going to see none of us are perfect. We're all a work in progress. Definitely. Some of us are better at some things than other things, but we're all a work in progress, and those limiting beliefs and those negative thoughts keep on pushing up. The more successful you become, the bigger they become, and then you have to work at them again. You say, I recognize you, but no, you're not getting a hold on me.
As well, if anybody takes a tip away from this whole episode here, at least this last tip that Paula is giving, that's at least one of those that you've got to start thinking about and concentrating on. Paula, before we conclude and before we finish the podcast, why don't you talk a little bit to the audience, because you've got a freebie that you're giving away to the audience now, and it's all to do with the money mindset in particular.
Yeah.
So why don't I hand over to you? You just talk to us a little bit about it, what they can expect from it. And then for those of you listening, obviously, if you want it, by all means, go down to the bottom in my show notes. The link will be there where you can obviously download the Money Mindset freebie. But Paula, let me hand over to you. Why don't you explain to the audience what it is that they can receive?
Thank you. So it's 3 steps, very easy steps actually, but it's quite high level. But we're going to go through what's the limiting beliefs or the money stories that's holding you back, how to write new empowering statements for your life, and then opening the way by clutter clearing your mind and your environment to invite abundance. It's a very easy process, and I share it with the greatest love, because if you can start with those 3 things, you'll see the abundance and the money starts flowing much easier.
Absolutely. And I'm going to have a look at it as well, because like I said, I'm always fascinated with this topic. And thank you so much for making it available to the audience. So for those of you listening, go down now, go and download it. And if you want to get in touch with Paula and you want to start working with her maybe, or you have a couple of questions for her, website link will also be down below in my show notes. So by all means, reach out to Paula so she can start talking to you, ask her any of the questions. And in particular, for those of you women who are in South Africa, I know I've got a huge audience in South Africa. You're listening to this. And if you feel that me being in the UK is a little bit too far-fetched, then by all means, get in touch with Paula. If you want to hear more about her franchise, how she does it, any tips, I'm sure she'd love for you to get in touch with us and she can have a conversation with you. Paula, I just wanted to say thank you so much. You've given so many great tips. You've given so much advice here for everybody as well. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time being here on the podcast. It's really lovely meeting you, and I'm sure we're going to be in touch fairly soon again.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's been my greatest joy, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the future.